Hey, welcome to the One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute with your host, the alchemist of Indiana's Black Forest, Alan Bishop. Hey, this channel is all about home distilling and legal distilling. If you've got questions, reach out to us in the comments below, social media, or via bishopshomegrown@gmail.com. And don't forget to check out thealchemistcabinet.com. Hey, what's up, guys? Just finished up doing a brand new episode of If You Have Ghosts, You Have Everything. So as I'm working on the 2027 Almanac and also the book, what the hell did I even call it? Advice for Sovereign Alchemists, the limited edition book. I've also been, I've been really drawn to doing like these Hoosier Black Forest fairy tales and poems, which can become part of the Almanac, or they may be their own thing. I don't know. We'll see how many of them I get in time and how inspired I am to do it. But these sort of pieces come together and they're clicking in a way. All the things I'm doing are clicking in a way they never have before. And I think that has a lot to do with staying, sober, relatively, other than Halloween, or the Halloween party, which is November 1st, the Day of the Dead. But, I'm 5 months in on riding this bicycle and mostly not drinking. Not that I ever had an issue with drinking, because I didn't. I just needed to take a break from it. Being in the industry, as long as what I have, it's always there, right? And sometimes you need to step away from that and focus on some other things. But a lot of things seem to be clicking. These fairy tales seem to be clicking for me, and I enjoy them even if no one else does. But that's what this new episode of If You Have Ghosts is going to be all about. By the time you guys see this video, that episode will be out. And I might make a little YouTube video for it. I haven't done a YouTube If You Have Ghosts video for this channel for a while, but it's not what we're here about. We're here to answer your questions about the art of distillation. This is Sunday evening, the 9th, I think it is. As of Wednesday, the 2026 Practical Distillers and Alchemists Almanac is supposed to be shipping to us. As soon as it's here, it'll go online at thealchemistcabinet.com for you guys to order. I'm really excited about it. I think we did a really good job with it. And I think it's really come a long way since we started it 3 years ago, or whatever it is now, 2 years, 2.5. I don't know. It's hard to keep track because the Almanac's I'm always writing a year ahead, and then it's coming out a year behind what I'm working on now. So it's a very strange liminal sort of thing. But as always, if you have questions about the art of distillation, reach out to me, bishopshomegrown@gmail.com. YouTube comments below, social media, I'll get to it. If I don't have the answer, I will find someone who does if I possibly can, and help you out in any way that I can. So let's jump right into it here. So let's see, this from Jeff. Hey Alan, I wanted to say hearing you talk about your bike riding has inspired me and the wife to get bikes. Thank you for that. No, thank you for that, because sometimes I need the inspiration to ride. So real quick aside here, my Schwinn, I wore the tread off the back tire in like 2 months, super fast. So I had to replace that. Started riding my black hybrid bike. The gearing on it is so different from that Schwinn, it was killing me, right? I was like 5 days in, and it was just absolutely destroying me. And I wasn't getting my miles, I wasn't getting my time, and I was pretty dejected by it. I was waiting on a tire to come in. Finally got a tire, and then realized that I had a spoke that was bent and actually broken, and I also had a rim that was bent beyond repair. So then I had to go get rims, etc., etc. Finally got that fixed. I also got my blue, I can't remember the name of it. It's a Japanese bike. It's a road bike, like a racing bike, road bike. My dad had one when he was young too, or younger. I remember it from when I was a kid. Got it all fixed, other than I'm going to put some flat bars on it, because I do not like road bike bars at all. I just don't. I know people, I know why they have them. It's not for me. But so anyways, long and short of it, finally after like 2 weeks, maybe 2.5 weeks, I got to ride the Schwinn yesterday and got in about 15, 16 miles and loved it. And of course the weather, is not cooperating now this time of the year necessarily to be able to ride every day like I was. So I bought a damn exercise bike. It's in the basement, and I don't know. At first, I started off hating it because you don't get the resistance you do on a regular bike. But I bought one of them tiny little fat kid trampolines, buddy, and I do about 300 jumps on that thing, and go jump on that exercise bike for about an hour and 10, hour and 15. Get off of it, 2 more jumps, 50 push-ups, 40 setups, and I feel pretty good about it. But anyways, I'm glad I inspired you to do something like that. I think that's awesome, man. I have this thing in my head, like if I'm off or I have things that I want to do, I always think to myself, bike first. Get that out of the way, right? First we bike. I have 2 very different questions for you today. The first is about gin, but also wondering if it could be applied to other botanical spirits. I was recently listening to a talk given by Anne Brock where gin is made with overloading the botanicals and then cutting with NGS and water versus single shot or just proofing spirit straight off the still with water. This seems practical to me as a home distiller with limited store space but always have neutral spirit on hand. My question, how does this scale up? I was thinking 1 to 3, so 3 times the botanicals. Will this also work for absinthe and aquavit? There's nothing wrong with that method, but I very rarely do I ever make gin with GNS or aquavit or absinthe. I almost always use some color, right? Some base that has some flavor to it that I'm working around with those spirits. And even if I were using NGS or GNS, whatever you want to call it, I don't think I would use that methodology. And the reason for that is it's a pain in the ass to get botanicals out of any still whatsoever. It's always a pain in the ass, especially if you're doing 3 times what you would normally be doing. And to be fair, I've never done it this way, so I couldn't begin to tell you how it scales. For me, I don't see the practicality of it. I really don't. And I can definitely tell you, you do not want to do that with absinthe because the amount of botanicals that go into absinthe is about 3 to 4 times the amount of botanicals that go into gin as it is already. And it is a nightmare to clean out. It's a nightmare to deal with. If you're dealing with elements at all, or you're dealing with an open flame at all, you got to worry about scorching. Me personally, I would just much rather make a gin the way that I've always done it, right? Start off doing prototypes very small, 1 gallon or whatever, get within range, understand that as you scale up, not everything scales. Mostly small stuff, spicy stuff does not scale well. Whatever you have it at 1 gallon, when you go to scale that up, by the time you get up to about 10 gallons, you need to cut that by about half probably on those small spicy things like black pepper, grains of paradise, etc. I could see the GNS thing if I had overshot and some botanical was overwhelming, but otherwise I wouldn't personally approach it this way. And not to say that you shouldn't, but I can't give you great advice on how that scales up because I really don't know. It's not my preferred method of making gin or aquavit or absinthe. I don't see why it wouldn't work, I guess I'd say. I just don't think it's the ideal way to do it personally, but more power to her. If she's having good luck with it, then have at it. Excuse me. My second question revolves around brown spirits. I've always run slower and then cut wider when I plan to age. The longer the plan, the wider the cut, or in the case of my rye whiskey, when I fudge the cut, just add more time. There you go. But my wife did bring up a point that I had no answer. Why not run 4 shots in early head slower and then push much harder until offensive tails show up? Should I really care about smearing if I just plan on blending it back together? As always, thank you for all your insights. Please keep the Talking Head videos coming. Okay, so the reason for that is because while the barrel, if you're using a 3 char, for example, can fix some of those mistakes, you're really just putting the onus on the barrel to do that amount of work, right? Because even though you're leaving a little heads in and a little tails in, you don't want an overwhelming amount. And to some degree, so here's an example. You ever get a whiskey? I'm hesitant to say a name here, but I'm going to use one that was real bad about it for many years. You ever get a whiskey like, say, a Knob Creek that has like a banana Foster's sort of note to it? Tastes fairly decent, right? Because we're familiarized with that flavor. But you drink much of it, the next day you're going to hate yourself. That is what happens when you cut too early into your hearts from your heads, even if you're going into a barrel for, say, 12 years, right? There were some brands that, and I'm not going to mention names here, but there were some brands that I'm fairly sure for many years, and understanding that true alcoholics can't pick up on that acetaldehyde aroma and smell and that they crave it. There were some brands for many years, big brands, that I think purposefully cut a tremendous amount of heads into their product for a reason, right? And had everything to do with repeated buyers, is what I'll say. Also, there's the skill of being a good distiller, right? There's also the skill of how long do you want to age? Like, again, for me, I don't want, the barrel's never going to be 75% of my profile. The barrel's going to be 50% of my profile. I want 50% of that good distillate that I spent my time and my effort, my passion and my love on, my craft on. I want at least 50% of that flavor to balance itself with 50% of the barrel flavor, right? I don't want that barrel to overrun it. Yeah, a barrel can to some degree fix spirits, but let me tell you, I've had barrels that clearly had bad distillation protocol and bad fermentation protocol, and it didn't matter how many years they went. It was still there. And any positivity that was there was covered over by the barrel char and the wood sugars, if that makes sense. So I hope I answered those questions okay. Let me know in the comments or shoot me an email. I wish I had a better answer for you on that gin, but I've never done it that way. And I can't personally conceive of any reason why I would ever do it that way. Maybe that's just because I'm super comfortable with botanicals, because I've done so very many botanical distillations at this point, and prototyped and made. And guys, I wish I could give you a list of places that I've made gin for, because you might really be surprised. I would almost guarantee you that if you're in the United States and you see these videos, there's a 90% chance that if you've drank much gin at all, you've drank one of my gins at some point in time. I can almost guarantee it. So, same goes for a lot of bourbon blends out there that were very popular. I've done a lot of stuff for a lot of people. So, anyways, let's move on to the next question here. So, this is from Jason, who says, "Hello, I'm having an issue I can't seem to resolve on my own. I've read everything I can find on the subject and have tried all the recommendations. There's a strong smell of sulfur when distilling my low wines. I can't detect the odor before I start distilling either. Everything that I can find suggests my issue is yeast stress. So my process is I bring 35 gallons of water to 205 degrees. I add 75 pounds of yellow dent corn, 10 pounds of malt, and 10 pounds of malted rye. All ground fine with a hammer mill. At this point, my temperature is 185, and I add high temp enzyme, and I let set for 90 minutes. Then drop temperature 150 and add glucoenzyme and continue to cool to 90 degrees. Then I pitch 1 cup of yeast. I adjust my mash to as close as 5.2 pH as possible, and I aerate with a whipping propeller for an hour. My oxygen level is in the 6 to 7 range when I pitch yeast. I've also tried different types of yeast and even crushed oyster shells to help regulate pH. Any advice would be appreciated." All right, Jason. So I got a number of things I can comment on here, but I want to comment on the sulfur thing just in general. So, are you only getting it in your low wines? And the reason I ask this is because, and I don't know what size still you're running here. I'm presuming around 40 gallons or so. Well, probably maybe 50 gallons with what your volumes are, 35 gallons of water, etc., plus all your grain. On larger setups, it is very common for low wines to have a sulfurous compound to it. Low wines on larger stills are nastiness. Just nastiness, discolored and ugly, and they smell bad, and it's not appealing at all. And it's not something that you'd want to drink in any way, shape, or form. But once they're run through a doubling still with copper and the vapor path, they clean right up and tend to have no problem whatsoever, right? And if they don't clean up entirely, then you want to look at adding some copper packing or something of that nature. But if it's only in your low wines, I wouldn't really worry about it too much. Listen, I'll tell you, every distillery that's running at least 100-gallon still that does a stripping run and a doubling run, they see the same thing. Tyler Richardson, my still hand at Old Homestead Distillery, he'll tell you the same thing. The low wines are nasty. They just are. There's no way around it, right? They leave long chain fatty acids in the barrels where we collect them. They leave some black looking crusty stuff in there. They're just nasty. It just is what it is. Now, as far as your process goes, though, I do want to comment on a couple of things. So, your temperature 205 where you're adding your grain is fine, except that even though you are using exogenous, exogenous, however you say that word, everybody always corrects me every single time, so I'll just say it both ways from now on. Even though you are using enzymes, I would not add my malt or my malted rye at that temperature on the high end. There's really no reason to. I would be adding that at 145 even if I'm using enzymes. And when I do use enzymes at work and we do add malt still, we do that at about 145, 150. We don't do it on that high end. There's no reason to cook it that long. You're really, really cooking the hell out of those small grains that really don't take very long to cook. The other thing is, well, there's nothing wrong with holding the 90 minutes for your corn. It certainly doesn't need it. Honestly, 45 to 60 minutes is plenty of time to get what you're going to get out of it. especially using enzymes. We've gone as short as 30 minutes before and been just fine, just testing things to see how things go. Same is even true when we've used malt for conversion and things of that nature. Let's see. So everything I can find suggests my issue is yeast stress. So process is went through the corn, went through the rye, went through the malt, all ground fine with a hammer mill, which is fine. At this point, my temperature is 185, which is fine. I add high temp enzyme and let set for 90 minutes, which we just talked about. Drop temperature to 150 and add the glucose. This is where I would also be adding my grain at, right? My small grains, as far as barley malt and rye malt. Rye malt, I might go a little higher temperature, but not much. And I'd only hold here for about 15 to 30 minutes, by the way. 150 and add glucoenzyme. So enzyme temperatures are going to vary depending on producer, but make sure that that glucoenzyme is good at 150 because a lot of them are not good above 110 degrees. Beta amylase is, glucoamylase is not. So if you're only using the gluco and you're going above the temperature, that's going to stress the yeast. But you'd be seeing that and not having a finish specific gravity, by the way. Let's see, continue to cool to 90 degrees. I then pitch 1 cup of yeast. So that's a pretty decent amount of yeast. So generally your pitch is going to be 1 gram per gallon. No reason to use more than you have to, right? Even if it's there just for yeast budding site for the other yeast. I mean, that's quite a bit. Let's see. I've also tried different types of yeast and even crushed oyster shells to regulate pH. So I don't know where you said your pHs are about 5.2. So 5.2, 5.5 is recommended pH. I'd be interested in what your finished pH is and what your finished gravity is. Are they going to 0? And how low is that pH going during fermentation? Let me know those things in the comments when you see this video, and I'll try to give you a little bit more information here. But again, if this is only happening in your low wines and it doesn't transfer over to your finished spirit, your doubled spirit, I wouldn't worry about it. It's very common in pretty much every distillery out there. So, yeah. The other thing is if you do, how long is your fermentation going? That sort of thing. I don't know if you gave me the fermentation temperature or not. Yeah. What is your temperature, your fermentation? Are you using any nutrients? These are all things that we can sort of figure out and help you out in any way we can. So yeah, just comment down below or send me an email, one of the two. I sure do appreciate it. All right, y'all, I'm going to wrap up for this evening, and I'm going to get ready to get me something to eat and go to bed. I love y'all. Catch you soon. Later.